Good evening. I'm happy to welcome you to Loyola virtually today. My name is Alyssa Derrickson, and I'm the Dean of Undergraduate Studies. You got to meet my colleague, Dr. Rodney Parker, in the previous session. And now tonight, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what we do in our office, talk about the curriculum, and talk about some resources that we have and some ways that you can help your student. So, as Dean of Undergraduate Studies, I specifically head 3 areas in the academic realm. The first is an area called the Academic Advising Support Center. And in that role, I oversee advising, faculty advising throughout the whole 4 years and that center itself. I also oversee the study, which is a place that has peer tutoring, workshops, and other ways to assist students to succeed. And finally, I oversee Messina, which is the universal first-year 2-semester program for incoming freshmen. I oversee only the academic component. It's actually a joint venture between student development, who were key in developing this project, and academic affairs. So basically, we have 3 goals in our office. We want to open students' minds to academic possibilities in the Messina courses. We want to help students to understand the curriculum and discern their personal and professional goals through advising. And we want to help students to attain their best academic status through the many opportunities in the study. You know, but I'm also, like you, more than my job description. I'm a biologist. I'm married to another Loyola biologist. And I'm the proud mother of a Loyola 2018 grad. I worked at Loyola for such a long time that Rob Kelly, who said that he came back here 25 years later, I remember him when he was a student, and I worked on committees with him. So I've been here a very, very long time. I had a very happy time. I'm so excited to share with you today some of the ways that we help students to succeed, and a little bit about our curriculum, as I said, and give you some advice on how to help your students know where to turn. I want to talk to you first about our curriculum in a sort of a broad sense, and then I'll talk specifically a little bit later. And I also want to say a little bit about Loyola's faculty. These 2 areas are both strengths of Loyola, but that's not the reason that I want to talk about them. I want to talk about them because Loyola's curriculum and Loyola's faculty will be the 2 main reasons, 2 aspects of Loyola that are going to help change your student and are going to help to shape them into a person for and with others. Let me go to the next slide. So if we could switch back to the slides. So your family is, whoops, sorry. As you're well aware, Loyola is a Jesuit Catholic institution. And you may not be aware, though, that you're joining a 470-year tradition of Jesuit commitment to education. And we've been in the city of Baltimore for over 150 years. What are you actually paying for when you send a student to Loyola? We do many of the things that other universities do, and we do them very well, but we also have a little bit of something special. So at Loyola, certainly your student will learn skills. These are some of the things that will prepare your student for a job. We also, and you can get that at any public or private university. We also teach what my friend who's in the philosophy department calls prudencia, or practical wisdom. And this is really what you can think of as critical reasoning, the art of applying the general to the specific, approaching a problem, asking what can be done, what should be done, and how. But the third component that I have up here is the Jesuit difference. It's something that the Greeks call eudaimonia, and it's one of the themes of Messina, to have a good life. That just doesn't refer just to being happy, but it refers to something bigger, to the complete fulfillment of yourself as a human being. What are you meant to be? And this is really the Jesuit difference that I think is one of our unique characteristics. Well, what's it like in the classroom? What is college like? Part of our curriculum we refer to as the core. And the core at Loyola includes courses in the humanities such as English and philosophy, the social sciences such as economics and political science, and the natural and applied sciences like my home base of biology. Together, these courses can give you a grander worldview and be the mechanism for personal growth. To me, the courses in the humanities teach us what it means to be really human, how artists and writers, historians and theologians have thought about what it means in its fullest sense to be human. In the social sciences, you can learn how economists and sociologists and psychologists understand how we humans interact with and understand the institutions that humans have created. And in the natural and applied sciences, we open our worldview to see what it means to turn outward and attempt to understand what we humans are a part of, the grandeur of this world and this universe. With the core, when you add in the other parts of a student's degree program, including their major and potentially a minor, the results are the success of our grads in the workplace and in national competitions such as Fulbright scholarships. But, and most importantly, success in a well-lived life. For faculty at Loyola, working with students is as much our passion as our discipline is. And I want you to know something very important, that the best predictor of success while in college is for students to establish a meaningful mentoring relationship with an adult. That can be a faculty member or it could be other adults on campus, like in student development. Every year we honor one professor as the Distinguished Teacher of the Year, an award that recognizes what we value most on campus, faculty who care deeply about their students. And really, your student will have the pleasure of meeting many faculty who love their work with students, some who are outgoing and are great at making a large class seem personal, some who are passionate and inspire students to embrace a new field of study, and some who are quiet and thoughtful and excel at one-on-one conversations. Each class for your student will be different. Some will be exciting, some they may say are boring, some they may complain about are difficult, but in each class, they will have an opportunity to meet a new subject area and to meet a new potential mentor, someone that can really spark their interest and help them to make it through successfully. We are here for students, so just as Dr. Parker said, please encourage yours to overcome any initial hesitation and encourage them to decide each semester which faculty member they would like to get to know better, and then keep up those connections and potentially develop a mentee mentorship relationship. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now and in the next month in the academic realm. Two things are important at this point in time. One, as Dr. Parker mentioned, is our common text, the master plan by Chris Walker. Oh, thank you, but it doesn't make me see it any better. The master plan. This book is subtitled My Journey from Life in Prison to a Life of Purpose. It's a really, really interesting story, and I think your student will get a lot out of it. What I wanted to share with you and what I want you to kind of oversee as in this transition from them being in your household to in our household is that we do have a common text contest. So there's the expectation they'll read it. The essay prompts are going to go out. They can either write an academic essay or a creative piece, such as video, poetry, or personal essay. And those prompts will be going out within the next week. And so I'm hoping that you'll encourage your student to enter. Winners, first place winners and runners up receive cash prizes. There's a free lunch that I host. And of course, the prestige of starting out with an achievement right in your very first time period at Loyola. The links to get the electronic version of the text will go out on June 28th, so next week. During Fall Welcome Week, we will start the discussion of this text. and it will occur in 2 parts during Fall Welcome Week. There will be a large event with speakers and panelists, and then a smaller group event where the students will meet with their Messina faculty member and talk about the book with the Messina faculty member, their peers, and their peer evergreen. So please encourage your student to come prepared to talk. Okay, we're going to switch back to the slides now and talk a little bit more detail about the curriculum and online registration for fall courses, which will be happening. So we do have a Q&A section that you can put in questions, and I have a couple places where I'll stop to take some of those questions. Okay, so thank you. So our curriculum consists of 120 credits for graduation with a minimum of 38 courses with 3 or more credits. There are 3 components to those 120 credits. One is the core, and these are 15 required courses or course areas. The second area is the major that a student chooses, and that usually averages about 12 courses in that major. Right now, your student may have an intended major, or they may still be exploring. And then the remainder after the core and the major are electives, which can be courses that students are interested in. It could be courses that they want to put together for a minor or potentially a second major. So generally, a student will take 5 courses per semester for each of the 8 semesters. And in addition, if you have a student that's going to be a science major or an education major or a psych major, they may have additional 1 or 2 credit courses. Lab courses, for example, meet 2 to 4 hours per week. Some students may be in ROTC. All of those credits will count towards that 120 towards graduation if they're degree equivalent courses. So what specifically courses are in the core? So I said there are 15 courses. 10 of them are in the humanities, and this is the heart of the core with 10 courses. And as Dr. Parker mentioned when he was an engineering student, he wondered, why does he have to take these philosophy courses? And really, they are the heart of what it sort of means to become a well-rounded person, but also to have a deeper understanding what it means to be human. So these courses include writing, fine arts, which could be studio arts, theater, art history, modern or classical language through the intermediate level. Your student has or should have already taken the language placement exam, which will help us to put them in the appropriate level. If a student starts a new language, not one that they took in high school, then they would need to take 4 courses to complete that language requirement. And down here, history, literature, philosophy, and theology, all with 1 to 2 courses. That's because in history and literature, of those 2 areas, they need to take a total of 3 courses. Minimum of 1 in each, total of 3. The same for philosophy and theology. Minimum of 1 in each, but a total of 3 for those groupings of philosophy and theology. And then this is capped by an ethics course. There's also 2 social sciences courses required in the core, psych, social, political science, for example, and 1 math or statistics course, and 2 courses in the natural sciences like biology or chemistry. Currently, the Academic Advising Center, which is abbreviated AASC, has pre-registered students for some but not all of their courses. They've been pre-registered for the Messina course based on their preferences. They've been put into, if they have an intended major, any of the required first semester courses for that intended major, and potentially core courses. So remember I said that normally a student has 5 courses a semester. When they meet with their advisor sometime between June 28th and July 18th, they will have the opportunity to complete their schedule, as well as just meet their advisor and talk to them about the Messina course and get oriented towards Loyola. So those will be 30-minute meetings in general. So at that time, they'll be able to finish their schedule. And if they decide to change their schedule at some point, maybe they find out they have AP credits that count for a course, they can, over the summertime, call AASC and modify their schedule. Or they can wait till they get on campus and utilize our drop add process. So at this point, if you have questions, you can start to put them into the chat. Whoops, I keep doing that. And I'll just finish up this last slide, which is basically that if you want to find out more information about the curriculum, there's several places that you can go. On the admissions website, which you're probably pretty familiar with, there is a section that talks about all the majors and minors that we have. Students also should get used to going to the Academic Advising and Support Center, both physically and virtually. And on their webpage, they have a lot of information on the student site, including worksheets for each major, which give a path to how to complete the major. And finally, the records office, which on some campuses is called the registrar's office, they house the college catalog and the academic calendar. So college catalog has descriptions of the courses, and the academic calendar is important for when you're planning vacations. Please do not think about taking your student out of class for a trip. That will be challenging. I know in some high schools that was a little bit easier, but in college that gets really difficult to be away because everything goes so quickly. Well, I'm wondering if there are any, if the mystery person behind the curtain has any questions in the Q&A that he wants to share with me. Whoops. Okay, I do see some. Thank you, Jason. So Manuel Muchachko wanted to know if we recommend doing summer sessions. So most students start in the fall, so I'm just going to start with freshmen. We do have a group of students who are Ignatian Scholars, students who will be taking a course in the fall, and of course some student athletes do take a course before the fall. But we offer summer school. We do allow students to also take courses away in the summer after their first year here. And some students do use that to take some courses just to get back on track. Maybe they changed their major and they want to be able to get up to date. So yeah, summer sessions are fine. Michelle Malloy asked if the student studies abroad, would that fulfill the language requirement? No. I can't think of any study abroad program where that would. I do know students have gone abroad to Spanish-speaking countries, and most oftentimes they can finish a minor in Spanish in their study abroad experience. So yes, student, and Jason Krebs asked if students should talk to their advisor before finishing their schedule. Yes, that meeting with their advisor in from late June to mid-July is a required meeting. They will get an email from their advisor telling them how to register for that. So you might want to check in with them, make sure that they have signed up for a meeting. And so another family member asked if the fall semester is 15 credits. Yes, generally 5 courses, 3 credits. Where to purchase master plan? We provide this for the students. They will get an electronic copy, a way to connect with that electronic copy in the mail. And for students that want a hardbound copy, we do have a possibility of them getting a hardbound copy. Okay, I'm going to go on a little bit to the next part of this, and there will be some more time for questions as we go. Oh, previously. So hopefully you didn't look ahead. Who do you think students turn to most frequently for advising support? So they're coming to college. We have a robust advising system for them. We did a program review of the advising, and here's what we found. So who's their primary source for their educational goals and their professional and graduate school goals, or their career goals? Far, far away. The number one answer is you. It's a family member. So hopefully you will know where to find the resources, or even better, encourage them to talk to some of the people on campus too. We have 2 types of advisors. students in Messina will have a faculty member who is called their Messina advisor. This survey was to students of all 4 years. So the Messina advisor is generally for your first year, but students do oftentimes go back to their Messina advisor even later in their career. And then the other faculty advisor that they get is once students declare, then they get transferred to an advisor within their major, and that's their major advisor. So that's where we would hope they would be getting their advising, or from AASC, but they're also going to be talking to you. And in part, this is, I know that you can't see this top part, but it's just a timeline: baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and the Gen Zs, which started in 1995 or 96, depending for their birth year, depending on who you talk to. So my kid is a Gen Z. Your kid is probably a Gen Z too. So up until this point, you have been strongly encouraged, as they've been going through schools, to be highly active and involved in your son or daughter's school success. And in a similar way, Gen Z kids tend to be highly involved with their parents and digitally connect with their parents an average of 1.5 times per day. I know my daughter does that still. Gen Z characteristics are that relationships are very important, and family is also very important, as you can see by how connected they are to their family. But some other characteristics that we're finding is they want to do something important with their lives. And I think Loyola is a good place for students that have that bent to be, and that we are very much about discerning what your path should be and what will be really important to you. But also they are very cost conscious. And so they do sometimes worry that they're being a burden on the family for finances. Well, who's going to help them when they're here on campus and you're way far back at home? So we've been talking about the Messina team, and I just wanted to spell it out for you in case that was a little confusing. We have a faculty advisor who teaches one of a paired Messina courses. They have one in the fall and one in the spring. Associated with that team is a mentor who is an administrator from student development or from my office, for example, or someone from another office like athletics who works with students. We also have a peer, a student evergreen, that works with that team. And there's another faculty member who teaches the other paired Messina course who also is potentially a mentor. Each of these people will be there to assist students, and in different ways. There are other advising resources, including academic advising that I've mentioned. Specifically what they do, what I think they're really great at, is if a student is thinking about one major but wants to switch to another and knows how that'll impact their plan. They're very good at drawing up schedules, but they also do sort of the nuts and bolts work of helping with registration, helping students with registration, helping them drop or add courses, withdrawing from courses, and they operate on a drop-in basis, or you can make an appointment. The second area I mentioned of support is what we call the study, and they do peer tutoring, but also have academic coaching, both in groups and one-on-one, time management and stress management workshops. And then the Assistant Dean of Undergraduate Studies, who you met, Dr. Parker, works with students who are having serious issues that are impacting their academic performance, or students who have some really great ideas about what they'd like to do and need some help in figuring out how to plan that. Maybe something on campus, maybe something going abroad. Okay, I want to pause again just to see if there's any questions. So I gave you a bunch of information on advising, and let's see where we are. Okay, so does Loyola give credits for AP exams? Oh, yes, definitely. One way that students do place out of the language example, for example, is by scoring high enough on the AP exam. And the AP score requirements are listed on the academic advising site. And when the student meets with their advisor, the advisor will have access to those cutoffs, and that can help them to know whether or not. We won't actually place we won't assume that the student got that until we actually receive the scores, which happens in July and August. And the student will receive a letter telling them what equates they had. If a person is a biology or an English major, do they have to take more core courses? That's a great question, Teresa, because I meant to say that when I gave that slide. There is an overlap between the core and the major for most majors. So some courses, like for example, for biology majors, they fulfill the 2 natural science and the math core requirements through their major. And if you're a business major, you fulfill the 2 social science requirements through your 2 economics courses. So almost every major will fulfill some of the core requirements through their major itself. Is the evergreen with them all 4 years or just freshman year? The evergreen is with them for the first year, but obviously the evergreen will graduate before they do. So it can't be for 4 years, but students do keep in close contact with their evergreen. So the honors, someone asked about the honors program. They have an alternate path through the core, similar number of courses, but different criteria. And it's part of the honor experience to have those courses, as well as the out-of-class experiences. Is there communication between the advisor and the parent? Generally, no. So we're going to get a little bit into that next. So it's a little different than in high school when you were interacting closely with the faculty. Here, Dr. Parker and I are the ones that get the job of talking to parents, and we'll get a little bit more into that if the student allows. But generally, I discourage faculty from talking to parents. Chairs of departments will talk to parents if there's an issue with a faculty member. But talking back to the faculty itself is not encouraged. So in the first, someone asked about what the first semester would look like. So during the freshman years, almost all of the Messina classes actually count for a core class. So students would take a Messina class, which would be a core class, their courses for their intended major, and a couple of other core courses. They can actually see what they're pre-registered for now if they're savvy enough to look online, and their evergreen might be able to help them to know how to do that. I am not talking about study abroad now, so we're just doing some introductory stuff in this open house orientation. But I know that the Office of International Programs will have some events during summer orientation as it goes through. Normally, summer orientation would be happening on campus over a 2-day period, and we're kind of spacing it out and also recording everything. Okay, so I want to watch my time. We're still going good. We have about 15 minutes left. So let me go on to my next part. One of the things I forgot to mention, when the student meets with their advisor, that's a student advisor only meeting. So we discourage parents from attending that. But if you're really eager and your student is okay with it, the advisor likely would be willing to talk to you either 5 minutes at the beginning or 5 minutes at the end if you just want to go over some of that. But really, that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to move on to challenges. So part of what our office does is our key role is a key role is helping students figure out what to do when things are going sideways and they can't figure out who to talk to. Maybe they can't talk to their professor because it's a problem in that class, or they don't feel comfortable talking to their advisor about it. And we help them, and we're also part of their network of support, so we can help bring in other people that can help them a little bit more. So your role is going to be changing a bit. So as I mentioned, during high school, middle school, elementary school, you've been primed to be very, very involved. And the expectation is that you would be involved. I remember many of those open houses at the beginning of the school year when you'd get to meet every teacher, how exciting it was. It was like going back to school for me. But your relationship is changing. And I know you know this because your student is getting older and they're becoming more independent. And we like to encourage that independence. Our desire for them is to take personal responsibility for their actions, both in the academic arena and the student life arena. And so what that means academically is that if they are encouraged to go to the study and receive support and they don't do it, that's on them. If the withdrawal deadline is November 9th and they don't get all the signatures, then they can't withdraw from the course. I mean, it's on them. It's their responsibility to be in charge of their own academic and personal growth. Now, we understand that that's difficult, really, because as my colleague, Dean Spearman, likes to talk about, they're emerging adults. They're not going to just magically be making good choices all along the way. But do know that there are places that they can get help. The second reason that your role is changing is that there is a federal law called the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act that protects the privacy of student education records. And you've been able to access those in your parental role or your family role up to this point. However, when a student turns 18 or enters a post-secondary institution at any age, okay, so that's all of our students, all rights afforded to you as a parent under FERPA transfer to the student. And what that means is that I cannot share any academic information about your student with you unless the student signs a FERPA release. Okay, I'm more than willing to talk to you about policy and explain to you what the normal procedures are and what happens in those scenarios, but not specifics. So we do have like a generic FERPA form on the record site, but that doesn't really work for us in our office. We have one with our own Office of Undergraduate Studies title on it, because I like to talk to a student so that they understand what their rights are and what they're signing. And unless they sign that waiver with me, I won't talk to you about academic performance. But like I said, I can talk to you about policies. And I'm not trying to be mean. It's just that it's the law. Oftentimes we get a lot of questions about that, and I'm fine. I can explain that a little bit more to you if you want. Okay, what happens if your student has a medical crisis? I have just a little tiny graphic over here. This is like a survey that said, would you say your mental health is excellent or very good? So as you look along here, except for those Gen Xers, there's a general increase in how you feel your mental health is. So as you get older, you become a little happier. So that's good news for me to hear. So your student is young and they suffer a lot from anxiety and depression. And sometimes that leads to the student being in a bad situation academically. And then, of course, there's also serious physical health issues that can occur. I mean, we have students, that might be injured as an athlete with concussions that can't access their classwork for a while. So for any of these reasons, for any sort of medical crisis, I can think there are three general options. If this is happening, say, mid-semester, The student may want to withdraw from one or more classes to lighten the workload. Okay, there is a deadline for withdrawing from a class, which is usually about, for the fall semester, about November 9th. And that date can be found on the record's academic calendar. This option of withdrawing from class allows the student to potentially complete all of the remaining courses with good grades. So that's option number one, withdrawing from one or more classes. The second option, let's say we're closer to the end, or maybe even we're past the withdrawal deadline, so that's no longer an option. The student can take an incomplete grade. To do this, though, the student has to approach the faculty member and talk to them about why they need an incomplete. So you can't just get an incomplete because, well, you know, my girlfriend and I went on a long weekend and I got behind. Or I've been playing video games. There has to be a reason generally that it's outside of the student's capability to handle. Some sort of physical or mental health crisis would fall into that realm. So in that case, the faculty member has to agree to the incomplete, and because they're the ones that assign the grade. And when the grade is assigned, instead they assign an I for incomplete, and the student and the faculty member have agreed on a pathway for completing the work. And the work is usually completed, like for fall work, it has to be completed by the end of January 30th, so that it doesn't overlap too much with the second semester. Students, by our policies, need to be passing the course at the time that they become ill and start to fall behind. Okay, so this option of incomplete allows them to complete all their coursework, but at a slower pace. And the final option is to take a medical leave of absence. So this is in more serious cases when students have been are way far behind. And in this case, all the grades for the semester are recorded as a W. They do not earn any credit, but on the plus side, they don't impact the GPA. A medical leave of absence does require that they have some sort of medical crisis that would require some attention from a health provider. And so we have both an initial care form, which describes what treatment would take place to get them to a place where they can come back as a student, and an aftercare treatment form before they return to say what sort of supports they need when they come here. We have an insurance as option, and I would recommend that you opt in to that insurance option. I don't think it's too expensive, and it's definitely not too expensive compared to the price of tuition that you would lose if a student took a medical leave of absence. Let's see what's next. So just to summarize, if your student comes to you and they're really upset, these are the things that you can suggest. Suggest that they talk to their faculty advisor first. This is usually their first point of contact. If it's a question about their program, what courses they should take, just general questions like I'm thinking about a minor, or I want to declare, they should go to academic advising at AASC. They're very good general advisors as well. And they know all our policies and all of our different majors and minors to a great degree. If the student is having problems, either with time management or stress or problems in a particular course, if they're having problems in a particular course, they should first go to the professor who can be able to help them. But if they have more extensive problems with the course, they might want to pick up a peer tutor as well as visiting with the faculty member that teaches the course. And finally, as we mentioned, the assistant dean works with first and second year students who have more serious issues. And your student can schedule an appointment by calling my office at 5547. So I want to thank you for your attendance at this and for sending your young adult to us. And I'll take any final questions that you might have now, if there's anything more in the chat. I'm having a hard time getting to the chat. because my mouse is not working anymore. Oh, there it is. Okay. So someone asked about student athletes. We actually have student athletes will have both their faculty advisor, but they also have an athletic advisor that helps them to plan a schedule. And the athletic advisors also work with coaches to figure out when the best training times are for particular teams, when everybody will be available. Athletes also have have a priority registration time to make sure that they can be available for their practices. My daughter was a student athlete here at Loyola, and it's a full-time job, which is why they have preference for registration. And by full-time, I mean it's pretty much 40 hours a week of time that they have to devote to their sport, counting the commuting time and all of the other time, which doesn't go into the actual time. So it's a very demanding pathway for students. I was wondering if there are any additional questions. We have just 3 minutes left, and then I'm going to send you to your other group. The ROTC program is invisible. It is if you're up early, because they put the flag up on the flagpole every morning and take it down late in the day on the quad. And I've also seen them working out on Jeppy Aikens Field. They have a special commissioning ceremony at graduation, which is really nice. Any other questions? We're at 7:22. Thank you, Jason, for that question. Ken Miller. Is there a parent-family weekend scheduled for the fall? Yes, but unfortunately, I do not know what weekend that is, but I think that would be on the Records academic calendar site. And the next session for parents is from the other side of the house. So the two main parts, what I consider the two main parts of campus, are the academic side and the student development side. So next you'll go to the student development parent session. Can students access the health services available with their own family insurance? Do not know. Out of my area of expertise. And I will stick around. Does the proxy access allow parents to view grades? Yes, students have the ability to allow other people to view what's on their student portal. And they also have the ability to shut that down at any point in time. So, yes, Mrs. Harris. TBD for the fall weekend. Well, then I feel good that I don't know when it is, because I couldn't know when it is. It's usually end of September, usually linked with some sporting event and some other stuff. I think right now we're just working up month by month. Okay, so the next session starts at 7:35. That'll give you a little bit of a break to go get some water, go to the bathroom, pick up some food. Thanks so much. Oh, club activities all throughout the day and into the evening. There's a student activities fair on the quad in very first to second week of September. And as I said, I'll stay here until you guys, till they turn me off at 7:35. And thanks so much to Jason, who is the back of the house person. Thank you, Jason. Okay, I think we're done.